And there we are. We are live. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Reason, religiously educated atheists, secularists, and other non-theists, aka the Secular Roundtable. Today, we're going to be talking about atheist evangelism, and do you think it's relevant and or necessary? I'm Aeolus, your host. You can find me at GodWorksOut or at thesecularroundtable.com. I also admin for the Facebook pages, facebook.com/philosophicalatheism and facebook.com/religionhurtshumanity. Please head over there and check it out. Shout out to all our viewers on YouTube, and we have a special guest in the house tonight, Data Lucum. And he's going to be talking with us tonight about atheist evangelism. Don't make fun of the way I say it now. G.
Sorry, I was distracted. Hello, I am the Godless Engineer. You can find me on Facebook. Just type in Godless Engineering in the little search bar up there on Facebook, and you'll be able to find me. You can also type in Godless Engineering to find my Facebook group. We have several groups associated with the page. We also have a YouTube channel that I have been posting significantly on. Significantly being sometimes 2 videos a day, just because I'm that enthused about my channel right now. So just check me out in those few places. I'm also on Twitter as at Godless Engineer, and Instagram, all those wonderful places.
Yeah, hi everybody. I am Brendan. I go by Prototype Atheist. You can find me on YouTube, also on Facebook and Twitter as well. I make videos usually I try to put out 1 per week. I generally deal with the topics of atheism, religion, and science, and sometimes how they all kind of come together. I am a molecular biologist, so I'm very passionate about that, especially things like evolution versus creationism and just those topics in general. So aside from being a founding member of the Secular Roundtable here, you can find me at those places. And I've been doing my channel for almost about a year now, so I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't done so yet, please check out my channel. Please come over and subscribe. You know, maybe I'll throw a party or something for 1,000 subscribers. So I don't know. Come on over and we'll see what happens. So throw it over to Data.
Hello everyone, Data Lucum here. I'm Data Lucum. Hello everybody. Very nice to be here. I debunk things. Apparently that's my shtick. I make videos about evolution, secularism, things in the media that are just ridiculous, and I just go through information and show how everything you think is actually wrong. I also am, I guess, founder and chief administrator of godlessvoices.com, which just went live, I guess, a few weeks ago. I don't remember when I made it. It doesn't matter. And hopefully it'll be a big hub of all atheist media from all over the internet. That'll be cool. And other than that, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and right here, apparently. Subscribe to all those things.
Yes, and we are very happy to have you on the show today. I don't know about the other guys, but I get very excited when someone that I watched for so long on YouTube actually comes on to our show. So special shout out to you for being here. Try not to be too fanboyish / stalkerish here, but you know, sometimes you just got to cross the line. That's just how it is.
You dropped the ball already. It's fine.
So today's episode is about atheist evangelism. But before we get into that, let's give a shout out to our sponsors. Atheism Box, the very first monthly subscription box designed specifically for you. Yes, you. Atheism Box. They're all about promoting positivity and the understanding of science without bashing any religion. And I actually got my first Atheist Box in the mail yesterday, and I should have an Atheism Box review of the very very first monthly box that came out, and I'll have that review posted up later on tonight, guys. Thank you for watching. Also, if you would like to support our live show, if you would like to support the Godless Engineer, me, and or Brendan, the Prototype Atheist, don't forget to head over to Patreon and become a Patreon of our page. Thank you if you have already done so. Special shout out to Nicholas because he was our very first Patreon last. And with that being said, let's go ahead and start talking about atheist evangelism here. Is it necessary? Is it a thing? Is it required? Do we need it? Short answer, yes. On my behalf, I'll go ahead and say yes. I think that we need atheist evangelism, and yes, that is a very weird way of wording it, and no, it doesn't do us any favors when we're talking to religious folks, but in a world that is just so consumed by religion, we have about 7 billion people on the planet and counting, and roughly almost all of them are religious. You know, the world is so consumed by religion, and we have a role, we have a responsibility to promote critical thinking and rational thought and science. I mean, science is provable. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson said, you know, the best thing about science is that it's true whether you believe in it or not, and that's what we need, because not all religions are true or have true aspects to them. And we already know this by, you know, examining their claims, testing them, using the scientific method. So short answer for me is that yes, I think we need atheist evangelism. It's very important to not only promote positive atheism, but to promote it in a receptive way so that others can kind of sort of get a good feel for it. You have to kind of gauge what your audience is looking for. You know, if your audience is... You guys are silly over there in the YouTube chat. Shout out to all our viewers on YouTube. But you got to actually, you know, gauge your audience and try to promote it to them in a way that they can receive it best. You know, if you're speaking with a scientific person, then take the scientific approach and, you know, try to explain science to them. But if not, as we've spoken about before, some people require an emotional investment, and that's why they're so strongly tied to religion. And as I've said many times, I'll continue to say it. Atheism can have an emotional investment per se. Now, of course, atheism is just the lack of a belief in a God, but we do have other things that we value. We do have purposes in life, but we give our own life meaning and purpose. And it's important to share that with other people so that they cannot be tied down by the confines of religion, so they can break free of those chains that have restricted them for so long. They can ask the questions that they want to ask, and they can be that little kid looking up at the stars wondering, what is that? What's that up there? So that's my short spiel on atheist evangelism. I'm going to turn it over to GE, the Godless Engineer, so he could tell you all about his thoughts on atheist evangelism.
Sorry, I had to get my buttons working right. Okay, so how I feel about atheist evangelism. I think that we really do need it. As far as that, calling it evangelism, though, really, it feels like it was conjured up by the religious population. You know, just because they want to make us fit into a religious definition. They can't handle the idea that we don't believe in a higher power. So, you know, we have to fit into some kind of religious definition. And so this atheist evangelism, I see it being, you know, kind of like two sides of a sword here, because it could, you know, I could see it being used for, you know, negatively against the atheist community and in a positive light. To me, though, evangelical atheism or atheist evangelism is just simply is simply just like being a militant atheist to me. And if you don't remember how I feel about being a militant atheist, is you're just not afraid to speak out against the religious population in your area. You're not afraid to call people on their BS. You're not afraid to, when somebody says that, well, no, I don't think the LGBT community should have marriage equality, you're not afraid to engage in that conversation and tell them, well, you're wrong, and at least attempt to show them how they're wrong, even if the conversation seems very one-sided or just hopeless. I think that it's important to at least try to have that kind of conversation. And I don't see it as a bad thing to want to promote rationality, to want to promote reason, to want to promote logical thinking. And that's what you want to do, and you don't want to do it like on a forceful nature, like kind of just, you don't want to be forceful about it. Just like, because me personally, if someone brings up something around me or says something, I usually try to correct them, or I try to have that discussion about it. It's not like with this atheist evangelism or anything. It's not like you're going up to doors with pamphlets full of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan saying, "Hey, look, this is how you've got to be science," and kind of thing. It's not like we're doing that. It's just not allowing yourself to be pushed around. It's not allowing yourself to be to succumb to the religious population in this country to validate their hypothesis, because they don't have a good hypothesis. It's like evidence in science is completely different than evidence in religion, because evidence in religion is like is feelings. It's I feel this way, I feel that way. In science, you take your feelings out of it, and you take your feelings out of it, and because you realize that yes, you are a faulty creature. You don't have, you can't really trust yourself as far as your perception on things. And so what you have to do is you have to find things that are outside of your perception, outside of yourself, in order to prove these things. And so in that way, you're really taking the human element out of all of this. And so to promote that, to promote taking the human element out of it, and really seeking an objective conclusion to things, I think it is a way that we need to start moving society, and using that kind of thought process is the way that we need to be moving. And so by evangelizing atheism is just really evangelizing secularism. It's evangelizing, not having this God mindset. Because if you haven't really noticed, at least in this past election, I mean, there's one guy in Colorado that was elected to office that tried to exorcise Obama through the TV set. There's one lady, I believe in Chicago, that got really, really close to getting into office, and she thought that autism is a punishment from God because we're so lenient on the LGBT community. So, I mean, evangelizing secularism or evangelizing atheism is the way that the world is moving. To go out there and really promote this way of thinking is the way that we need to go if we're going to progress as a species. And so that's pretty much my take on it. Aeolus, you got any questions, comments, anything like that? Anybody else on the panel?
So while you're speaking on that, because we have to continually reiterate this, especially on my channel where we have such a large percentage of Christian subscribers, please explain to them that the atheist is just a person who lacks a belief in a God, and you can't actually evangelize atheism. You can't go door to door like that popular meme that was made where they have like the blank sheet of paper and they're like, "What are you here for?" And they're like, "Oh, we're atheists." we're not actually evangelizing atheism because atheists are so different. What we're actually evangelizing, as you briefly mentioned there, is secularism.
Right. What I take with the evangelism part, evangelizing anything is really just you actively going out and promoting and trying to sway people to your position. So, I mean, if you're evangelizing, the Hoover vacuum, you could go out and you could try to sway people away from their, whatever kind of vacuum they were having, and now, they're going to be Hoover vacuum people. I mean, you can evangelize almost anything to people. So I would say that to put evangelizing in front of atheism is really just to go out and promote secularism or this thinking without God in it or whatnot. And I would like to comment that why on earth did Dieter have to one-up me with the hat? It's not cool, bro. And did you have a question?
I accept every challenge. One thing I did want to mention about this topic, though, and I'll do this while wearing my fantastic hat, and I'll stroke it gently as I talk. So the idea is... Okay, I'm now getting distracted. Yeah, I think evangelicism in front of atheism is a misnomer, because the connotation with evangelicism, I'm just not going to say that word anymore. The idea behind it is like actively going out and promoting a particular belief system and to the exclusion of other ideas. What atheists tend to do is they don't even go out and say like, yeah, atheism is awesome. We're atheists and we're cool, man. People don't really do that. More often than not, evangelicism when it comes to atheism, I said it again, I hate that word. It's hard to say. For atheists, all it is saying, hey, those things you just said, those are actually wrong. And this is why. That's kind of the more combative version of atheism. But even more often than that, it's just people going out into the world and just saying, yeah, I'm an atheist. And I'm perfectly okay with that. Because when the belief system, more quotes, is nothing more than the lack of the other belief systems, the only thing you really can do is say, like, yeah, I'm an atheist and I'm awesome, and that's all I really have to say about that.
Well, actually,
that's exactly what we're getting at with that, because they're so, like, even if you just take the four of us here, I'm pretty sure we have very different stances on almost everything except for the lack of a belief in a God. So that's why technically you can't actually have atheist evangelism. There's no atheist stance on anything except the lack of a belief in a God.
Well, I would like to...
No, see, where that gets hairy is when people start tagging other things onto atheism, and then they go out promoting those things as if you have to believe in them to be an atheist.
Yeah, that's why we're reiterating this. We want people to know, like, hey, atheist is just a lack of a belief in a God. We have to do it every week.
Well, I was going to add that I actually went to Google while Dieter was talking, and I looked up evangelize, and it's actually specific to Christianity, at least in the web definition or the definition that I found. It says convert or seek to convert someone to Christianity. So, I mean, I think that kind of leans or has a little bit more credence to the idea that Christians were probably forcing this into as far as being a phrase or a descriptive phrase to describe some kind of atheist, because they were out basically being, I guess, militant about it. It just really seems like it's the religious population that is trying to force us or force atheists into some kind of religious definition, and that's just when I first heard the term about it, however long ago, that's what I first thought about it.
That's actually pretty astute observation because that's what religious folk do all the time. They try to put everything into the same compartments that they've already set their brain into. So they're just like, all right, so you're an atheist. That means it's exactly equivalent to my belief in a god, so I'll put that belief in this box. And you're going out and talking about it openly. That means you're evangelizing because that's the only way I can make sense of that action. And then it's just like, no, these aren't equivalent things. There are more ways of thinking in the world.
Let me actually one-up you on that. It's a psychological thing for humanity in general for us to have to that's how we actually get to understand a position better. We have to put it into a category. So sorry I had to one-up you there, but it's actually a psychological thing that we experience as well. It's just like different things, like even understanding gender. There's been studies that have been done that show when you have to attempt to figure out what a person's gender is, you're more likely to not even like that person or want to talk to them at all because you can't figure out what their gender is. And that's kind of unrelated to the topic here. But it's an example of how we have to categorize things to understand them better.
And that's where, like, when you get limited characterizations, it just makes everything ridiculous. Because it's like, you can't really describe gradients in atheism very well to somebody who isn't in it at all. Like, it's like, oh, I'm a strong atheist or a weak atheist. It's just like, so you're a super Christian without the, what are you exactly? It just doesn't translate well.
Brendan, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, you guys bring up a lot of good points. I was going to mention the definition of evangelism, and it certainly has that Christian connotation to it, the spreading of the Christian gospel by public preaching or personal witness. It kind of has a second definition about zealous advocacy of a cause, which, you know, I could see that being another use of the term, but, you know, mainly the word it has a religious connotation to it, and obviously we chose the name of this topic to be provocative. I would never describe what we do as evangelism, whether you want to call it on behalf of atheism, secularism, reason, rationality, whatever. You know, I would never describe it as evangelism. But clearly there's been this effort by a lot of theists and Christians to describe atheists who are outspoken as evangelizing, because, you know, like you guys have mentioned, they have this concept that atheism is a religion or that it's a religious belief, and they really want to, you know, put us in that box because that way they feel like they can attack us, which I find to be quite ironic because in that sense they're kind of admitting that religion is a bad thing, or, you know, and they'll say that we have to have faith in order to be an atheist, which again, you know, so again they're kind of portraying faith as not a positive thing. So I would never describe you know, advocating for reason or secularism as being evangelism. Now, certainly what we do is we definitely do advocate for a cause, and I wouldn't call it atheism, of course, because there's no tenets, there's no beliefs, there's nothing to advocate for. It's just lacking a belief in God. But it's kind of, how do you get there? You know, how do you get to that point of not believing in gods? And so we kind of advocate for logical thinking and for, you know, there's really no other way to go about it than to address the claims of religions. So, you know, like Dater was saying earlier about how people evangelizing, you know, they kind of go out and they broach the subject and they are out on street corners kind of confronting people, or they're out there being very outspoken. Whereas as far as us as atheists, like, we're really left to respond to claims of religious people because, you know, the word atheist really shouldn't exist. It only exists because there's so many people that do believe in gods. So we are really just responding to claims made by religions and theists, and, you know, it shouldn't just be about attacking religion or religious claims, though. You know, it's also about advancing logical thinking and reason, and also explaining the evidence, you know, that supports a lack of belief in God. So in that aspect, you know, we definitely do those things for sure. And as far as secularity goes, that's not something that's confined to atheists. Certainly, theists can also advocate for secularism. There's plenty of Christians and theists that go out there and they understand that there should be a separation between the government and religion, and that the two shouldn't really be mixed. So that's not exclusive to atheists either. And So as far as the way that I approach it, my MO is I don't really broach the topic unless somebody else is putting out their religious opinion or claims in public. So I don't ever just randomly go up to people. I don't go out on street corners. I don't start talking about religion or atheism unless somebody else has brought up the subject first. And then I can address the claims that they're making and refute them or explain to them why their claims are incorrect or inconsistent. And so that's the way that I approach it. I certainly wouldn't begrudge any other atheist, whatever methodology they would want to use to approach it. I tend to, definitely, I think that we shouldn't be personally insulting people. We should, keep it civil and try to actually educate people, because the goal is to actually help people understand and make their own decision about, does a God exist or not, or does this make sense or not? Whereas religious people, they try to actually convince you to convert to their ideology. Whereas as far as atheism, there is no ideology to convert to. We're just trying to provide information so that people can think about this in their own mind and then come to their own conclusions. And if they still come to the conclusion that a God exists or whatever, that's their own way of going about it. And personally, as far as I'm concerned, deism is an acceptable position. It's when you start making claims that are unsubstantiated or that you don't have evidence for that I have an issue. So as long as people are doing that, I'm going to continue to address it.
I think you presented a very great point there, which is the promotion of secularism is not only tied to atheism, because there are a lot of people out there that realize that, hey, like here in America, there are Christians that realize that there's a need for a separation between church and state, because as soon as you don't allow that separation, any other religion can come in and kind of sort of like establish themselves and, start putting up statues of Muhammad all over the courthouse or, anything like that. So there are lots of other crazy things that can happen when you don't allow the separation of church and state. So thanks for bringing up that very great point, which is not only atheists have to be advocates of secularism. Another thing here, too, is that what do we mean? What else can we evangelize? Well, we can evangelize science, and I know it sounds kind of funny that we keep saying that word, but we do need to spread science, because so many people in this world actually use products of science and benefit from the same science that they later go on to deny. And this is a really big problem. When you have generations of kids that are growing up that are being suppressed from intellectualism and science, really you're just creating a recipe for disaster, because what are you going to do when these children grow up to become the leaders of the country? It's going to be a whole lot worse than what we have now. So it's very important to promote science. What do you guys think?
I would fully agree with that, and I really do stand behind what Bill Nye has said on this subject. The subject of kids that are taught creationism like as fact are just simply behind other kids. And what we need in the future are scientists and engineers. And with the way that the religious population seems to be going, at least those that actually choose to get loud, I guess, it seems like they have this agenda to totally destroy whatever they don't consider science, because it's obvious that they do consider some science to be quote-unquote science, but yet they totally disregard anything that touches their faith even remotely. I know everybody knows about Megan Fox. Well, she says that fossils, now that's real science, but then the science that, explains the origins of life or explains evolution and explains how organisms change over time, well, that's not really science. That's not science at all. No. And so you have people like that that are the loud ones. And then you have, the ones that are actually against them. I mean, they'll say, well, no, I don't really like that, but, or I don't think that, or no, that person's wrong, but they don't actually get up and they're not actually loud about it, they don't get up and they don't like make a YouTube video being like, hey, I'm Christian, this woman's fucking batty as hell, kind of thing. And so I think that one thing that would really help out with as far as evangelizing or spreading science, logical thinking, and everything like that, are the Christian population that's not batshit crazy. The Christian population that does subscribe to logical and reasonable thinking for the most part. And I think that if those people were to actually stand up, start speaking out against the crazy ass Christians, then I think that would help out immensely.
So reach the reasonable ones first, and then we'll take them all down.
Well, I mean, they're already pretty close, right? I mean, if you can, honestly, not to really, I hate to ill of that particular Christian population, because I mean they do. I admit that there are Christians out there that still believe in God, and they are completely logical in their thought processes, except for when it comes to their religious faith. And I'm fairly certain that it's only because they've been indoctrinated into it, and it's just something that they,
like, this is the God box scenario. I forget who dubbed that phrase, but it's intense version of cognitive dissonance. It's like every single part of my brain is very critical of all information being brought into it, except for this tiny little God box that information never penetrates.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what it seems like.
Another thing, too, is that Neil deGrasse Tyson brings this up all the time, is that he says that we shouldn't be alarmed by the number of people in public that, believe in a God, but what we should really be alarmed about is the actual number of scientists, which I think was about 30%, if I'm not mistaken, that actually believe, overall, out of all scientists, 30% believe in some higher deity or creative force. So, that's something that we really should be concerned with. And at the same time, though, there are a lot of Christians out there, and we're just specifically picking on Christians right now, but we mean anyone, that understand that, okay, this belief in a God that I have is outside of what can be proven, and it can't be proven. It's just my faith. I just believe there is a God, and I still accept science and everything else. I mean, that's kind of where I was in the last 2 years as a Christian. Like, I believe that, hey, when I die, there's this God that I have to talk to, but everything else right here, right now is science. I mean, I eventually let that go, but there are people that believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could, just give a personal anecdote, I was a Christian until just a few years ago, and, I always accepted evolution, I fully accepted science and all that kind of stuff. I just never really took the time to actually try to reconcile, my beliefs in Christianity with what I knew to be true. They were kind of like separate compartments. And I consider myself obviously somebody who's a rational person, who's a critical thinker, and yet, I just never bothered to try to put the two together. So it can be kind of frustrating sometimes, even dealing with, moderate religious people, because somebody like myself, I still was kind of doing this thing where I was separating science from religion and not trying to put them together. And that kind of underscores the need for this, atheist evangelism, if you will, because I can definitely point to the fact that having a lot of discussions online with people, with atheists, with people that were science-minded and things like that, definitely led to my eventual atheism. I was definitely trying to advocate for my belief in Christianity and always having these conversations on various forums online and things of that nature. And obviously I'm sitting there defending myself, but eventually the things that people were telling me were coming through, and they were going to the back of my mind, and it got to the point where I was just like, yeah, you know what, these people are right. I just, believing in this stuff just doesn't make sense anymore. And it was kind of a gradual process, but that kind of, again, that really is just demonstrates the need for kind of what we do. We kind of approach it that way, and like I said, you have to kind of approach it that way and understand that people are, they're looking to be, you don't want to confront them, basically. You don't want to insult them. You don't want to be too aggressive with them, because if you really want them to be convinced that what they believe in is wrong, you have to approach it that way. because just yelling at them or anything like that isn't really going to be that effective generally. And it's really odd because, like GE was mentioning about Megan Fox, she has this idea about science that oh well, this is real science and this isn't. So people accept science, but then they make special exceptions for certain things just because they are incompatible with their faith. So they just choose to decide like, oh, that's not real. Also, she was going through the museum and she kind of was making this disclaimer like, oh, well, they're not stating this is what we currently believe or this is what we think happened. They're stating it like a fact. Okay, well, typically religious people don't come up to you and say like, well, this is what we happen to believe. Like, no, they state it like, oh, this is what actually happened. So, and there's no need for such disclaimers, really. I mean, it's like you don't have to say before every statement, oh, this is to the best of our current knowledge. I mean, that should be obvious, really. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on it and my experience. So, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I was just commenting on that last bit. It's like saying, in my opinion. It's like, of course it's my opinion. I'm the one talking.
Well, yeah, but it's like John. Crap. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. John Oliver. It's like John Oliver says. It's like having an opinion on whether or not hats exist. You don't get an opinion on facts, and that's exactly what what Megan Fox and people like her want, is that they want to have an opinion on facts. And it's like you don't get an opinion on facts. I mean, it's like evolution is a fact, and I'm guessing that you guys haven't really seen her zoo audit at all. She uploaded about. Oh, did you? Well, I did a
full rebuttal. I
have
to edit out the cursing.
Well, she uploaded like 30 minutes of footage for the zoo. And like throughout the entire thing, she is doing the whole shoving atheists and secularists and basically anybody that accepts evolution into this religious definition. Like she says the science of or not science, but the religion of Darwinism and the religion of evolution. And she's spouting off all these things that she's heard come out of Ken Ham's pie hole. And of course, she goes on to basically be the biggest hypocrite. And I wish I had gotten my edited version of her zoo adventure done, where it actually highlights her hypocrisy. But like she goes through and she says that like creationists are being burned at the stake for questioning the religion of Darwinism and whatnot. It's like,
well,
it's like, yo. Do you not remember burning people at the stake? Like, your religion specifically burned people at the stake. Like, they actually did. Scientists aren't burning people at the stake. No, they're not. They're saying, okay, well, you have this hypothesis. Where's your evidence? And
also,
you're basically...
isn't it virtuous to be burning on a stake or something?
Well, actually, the burning didn't happen as much as it is prescribed. It didn't actually happen. They actually hung more of them than they burned. But hey, what sounds better, hanging or burning at the stake?
Well, I know that they did burn Joan of Arc.
Neither?
But hey, this is theist.
Are we choosing between methods of death? Because I choose neither.
This is theist that we're talking about. How can we make these atheists suffer the most? Just hanging them? Nah, it's like seven seconds of pain. Let's burn them to death.
But just her whole zoo adventure that she went on was utterly ridiculous. Of course, she questioned everything, and her little sidekick behind the camera even threw out the whole "if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys?" It just really made me want.
My video, I flipped the fuck out when
I really wanted to just reach through the computer and like slap her around a little bit, all Three Stooges style.
And the worst part about it is it's actually theists who are out here and they're believing her. I mean, I had so many people comment on my Instagram and say, when I posted that meme of her, that was like, look, none of this don't make no sense to me, therefore it's all false. And they were like, hey, why are you making fun of Megan Fox? Because she actually provided some great evidence, and she had credible points. And I'm just like, and then they asked me, oh, well, what evidence do you have? And I'm like, in that video, she says that, hey, there's no evidence. And then she walked right by all the evidence. And actually, I posted a picture on my Instagram, and it went to the Philosophical Atheism page of a guy who was like, I told him, I was like, dude, she walked right by all the evidence. She even walked by Lucy, and he was like, who is Lucy?
No, it gets worse than that. When she was in the museum, she was like, where's the evidence that there was ever like a period I forget exactly the point she made. It's like, where's the proof of this Cambrian explosion or whatever? And she was standing in front of trilobites. She looks down and she mentions how cool they look.
Well, no, she looks down and she's like, this is actual science. And then she makes that claim. And it's like, wait, that's actually... What? Oh, my brain hurts. Well, okay, Dieter.
Don't get me started on the dragons bit. Don't get me started on the dragons.
Oh, God, yeah.
Dragons! Okay, Dieter.
Yeah, she was going on about how she was going on about how that one dragon was named like Hogwartsite or whatever. They named it after Hogwarts, the people that discovered the dinosaur or whatever.
I looked it up afterwards. It is a cool looking skeleton. But then you look at it, what they propose to look like with skin, it doesn't look as much like a dinosaur after you put skin on. It doesn't look as much like a dragon after you put skin on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anybody saw Armored Skeptic's video, he did an awesome takedown of her. He did it was like a half-hour long, and so that's why I didn't even bother dealing with addressing her in video, because Armored Skeptic just totally killed it. But yeah, I mean, pretty much her saying that was a dragon because that's what they named it was ridiculous. I mean, that's like saying that because dinosaur means, terrible lizard, that means that dinosaurs are lizards. I mean, that's her train of thinking right there. And I swear, every time I hear her talking, I think that she's a Poe, and I don't see how it's possible that she's not. But then, all the stuff she's doing, she's doing the local library here and stuff, and, she really is crazy. I just can't believe it. She has to be doing a shtick, but she's not.
So I actually stuck my foot in my mouth when I posted this all over social media, and I asked people, do you think that atheists need to evangelize? Sorry to kind of circumvent here, but because I see we're starting to get closer to the top of the hour. But I told, we always tell people, we'll read your comments live on the show. Well, this happened to be a hot button topic for people, and I probably got too many comments to read on the show. So we're going to open this up for discussion, and I'll read the comments one at a time as fast as I can. And if you guys want to address them, I'm just going to skip my addressing of any comments. I'll let you guys do it.
You're running the talk, right? You can do a screen cap, and you can just show us live right now.
Well, some of it is on Instagram, and most of it is on Instagram, and it's kind of hard to do that. Because they don't have the web-based version yet.
Yeah, that's dumb. All right, never mind.
All right, here we go. We got the neurological atheist. He says, I think it's a great idea. So this was the question. Do atheists need to evangelize? I think it's a great idea. Christianity uses evangelization. Why shouldn't we? We are a very small minority, and we need to get our word across to others. And we wouldn't do it with the force as the Christians had, as we are not the type to kill others for accepting science. Religion has been spread through evangelization. We should spread our word too.
You see, what would
I think that's an important
say?
point, really.
It would just be like, hey neighbor, have you heard the good word? There is no God, and you've wasted your life. That's
it's a good point though, because religion does have kind of a monopoly on this, and they're obviously out there, they're spreading their word, they're getting to people, and so us staying silent isn't going to change anything. We have to get out there and we have to address this, and we have to engage people.
Yeah,
so it's a good point,
You can't do it in the traditional evangelizing way.
No, but
we
do need to counter religion. We do.
Yeah, that's the thing. We're addressing their claims, like I said earlier. We're not out there just putting ourselves out there. We have to answer their claims. So,
Right, and by evangelism, we don't mean like knocking door to door or going out there forcing it on people. I've never had a discussion where I started the discussion as an atheist, where I was like, "Hey, you need to be an atheist, or your religion is all wrong." That's not. We don't do that. There may be somebody out there that does that, but we're not doing it.
I think you early on people that like become socially atheist, which is totally a phrase I'm coining and trademarking right now.
Social atheist?
You kind of have to socially atheist. I'm going to trademark that. Anyway, once you become socially atheist, you kind of learn some tricks, I guess. Like you can't start as the one making the claims, because then you get on the defensive, and then you have to actually demonstrate a God doesn't exist, and that just gets messy. So I think most people that actually are in the public square of atheism have figured out that it's better to be reactionary.
I would have to agree with that, because I am fully reactionary as far as my atheism goes. Like I won't bring it up unless somebody else brings it up first. And even then, I only follow the discussion out until they start yelling at me.
I forget who said it. It might have been Dawkins. It's like atheism in and of itself does not promote any action. Like it doesn't. It's not predisposed to action.
Yeah,
so
I would.
If you actually went into like traditional evangelism of atheism, you'd have to be like, there had to be something else going on in your head that makes you want to do that.
Well, and I mean, I would also like to point out that there is an element of resistance, not only within the atheist community, but also from external to the atheist community. Because, like, I think it was either this past week or last week, I saw a prank show that actually went out, and they were pranking people. Which pranks are supposed to be funny, and it just wasn't funny. But they were pranking people by going up and having somewhat normal conversations and just randomly inserting, "Oh, I'm an atheist." And so, like, yeah, and so like one guy came up to this old man and was like, "Hey man, can I have a sip of your drink?" It's like, okay, that's really fucking weird. And you know, and then the guy's like, "No," and he's like, "Oh, bro, what are you doing? I'm an atheist." It's like, what does that even? And like, I think one time he was walking down the sidewalk and saw a guy and a girl holding hands or something. He's like, "Oh, that's disgusting. I'm an atheist." So I mean, you know, you have people that are purposefully acting like assholes out there, and I don't know if it's if the goal is to purposefully make atheists look bad. But I mean, there's that aspect, and then within the atheist community itself, there's a lot of people out there that are really, really against like it being vocal about, you know, being an atheist in general. Like you know, I get messages on my page and comments on my page all the time, you know, talking about how, you know, well, why can't you just let people have their own, you know, their faiths or whatnot? It's like, I'm not telling people they can't have their faith. I'm just telling you to keep it to your own fucking self.
And to add to that, it's like, I'm not telling you that it's like, I'm not telling you can't have your faith. I'm just telling you it's wrong.
Like factually wrong and whatnot, and sometimes it's morally wrong.
To probably be nicer about it, it's like, I'm just trying to tell you the things that you are saying are wrong. You're the one that decided to have a faith based off those claims. Not my fault.
So tell me,
kind of an example of that is, you know, the Pope came out and he was trying to comfort this boy whose dog had died. You guys probably saw this, and he said that his dog would have gone to heaven and that all God's creatures go to heaven or whatever. So I commented on an article about that, just saying that like, oh, this is a new Catholic PR campaign, you know, free dinosaur rides in heaven, and you know, people were getting all over me, and they're like, why you gotta make fun of people? Why you gotta attack people's faith? They're just trying to be comforted. They want to know that their pets are going to heaven. And I'm just kind of like bringing up, you know, a rational opinion, saying like, okay, so you mean to tell me that, you know, every animal on Earth goes straight to heaven because they don't have the capacity to choose how to behave. So humans are the only ones that are kind of burdened with the responsibility of not screwing it up in order, to get to heaven. Like, we're the only ones that have to choose how to behave to go to heaven, because every other creature on earth apparently automatically gets a free pass. And people were jumping all over me. They're like, why you gotta attack us? Why can't you just let people be with their faith? And I'm just like, you know what? Believe whatever you want. I'm just trying to point out the absurdities here. So,
Yeah,
but
and
I
even
don't know. Let's go ahead and get to some more questions here. I think we got some more lined up.
I had to say something on that point. Sorry. It's like, when people say, why can't you just let us believe? Why can't you just do this? It's like, because I actually care about what is accurate, and I don't want to lie to you to make you feel better. That's the difference between me and the people that propose your religion.
Yes, we actually care about what is true.
Or what is just supported by evidence.
It actually inspired me.
Always the same thing.
It actually inspired me to make a meme. I put a meme together. I said religion is like a Snuggie because it may be comforting to you, but it still makes you look ridiculous. So.
Okay, let's do questions. I've digressed.
Well, most people don't really have questions. Well, let's see if you guys can see this here. So we've got.
Yeah.
We'll start at the bottom here. We've got Kenneth Meth. In reference to the question, he says, yes, education needs to spread. They won't like it because the truth hurts. We've got Rich Benjamin Goetti. Absolutely not. It goes against the precursor of atheism, free thought. With evangelicals comes the collection plate. Would you guys like to say anything about that?
I disagree with that. With evangelicals comes the collection plate. No, I think that's kind of what is it? There's a specific fallacy name for that. Just because you go to evangelize something doesn't exactly mean
Slippery slope.
Maybe, yeah, slippery slope. I think that's right.
Hasty generalization.
Ah, yes.
Or that, yeah.
Both, really.
And so that really is a fallacious argument in general. So I really don't think so, because I mean, with the way that Christians do it, I mean, not even them, they have to have like the money aspect of it. Like, they don't have to have the collection plate. The collection plate is actually built into their dogma. So that's why the collection plate is there for them. I disagree with it being like against the precursor to atheism. What's the precursor to atheism exactly? Because it's just no belief in God. He mentions free thought there, but I mean, it would be one thing if we were being conquistadors and totally taking over America and planting flags and being like, ah ha ha for Darwin, but we're not, But that's not what we're doing. We're just being vocal about the truth, about evidence and science and everything, and we're fighting against this binding nature of religion, wanting to try to control free thought. And in that aspect, I kind of feel like we're kind of like rebels going against the empire and whatnot.
The one thing I want to add to that is there is no one path to atheism. Then this is why a whole bunch of different atheist groups have weird labels for different types of atheists. There can be pure atheists who were just born without a religion and never got one. So if you're not taught one, you don't get one. Then there are people as a matter of fact, people become atheists because they prayed for something and it didn't happen, so they got pissed off.
Yes, which are the worst atheists,
it's a stupid reason.
They convert to another religion. But you bring up a good point there, that there are different types of atheists. There, not only skeptics are atheists. You have people that just never saw any evidence, and technically that may not be skepticism. They just didn't see any evidence for it, and so they're an atheist. Or maybe their parents never told them about a religion; they weren't indoctrinated, and so they're an atheist.
And then there are
now
people
apparently
that
we're gonna have to
were Christian or whatever.
We're gonna have to take down the. No, go ahead.
No, that was basically it. It was then there's a whole bunch of people, especially in the U.S., that were Christian, and then and it's mostly Christian because the U.S., and then they just become atheists because they actually studied. And those are some of the most vocal atheists.
For Darwin! Let's say it back.
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, now we have to take down the Darwin flags from our store on the website. So thanks a lot, GE. We were counting on that for sales to support us, but now you got to blown it, so we can't sell them now. We do have these great T-shirts. See, I mean, they're really comfortable. So go ahead and buy one. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
But honestly, though, we don't have, we don't have this, monetary system built into what we're trying to do. I would do this completely for free. If people want to support us, that's their choice. I would never demand that anybody support us for any of this. And whatever they do support us with on Patreon or through our, buying T-shirts or whatever, half of it goes to Freedom from Religion Foundation to advance the cause of secularism. The other half goes to support channels so that we can create better content. We're not doing this to get rich. We're not doing this to build mega churches or anything of that nature. So there's no collection plate here. I would do this completely for free, absolutely any day. I think I'm passionate about this, and just getting results is enough for me. So.
And we have been doing this completely for free. Just to mention that we have been doing this. I've been doing. I've been doing it this whole time for free. I haven't seen a single profit off of this.
Yeah.
Well, that's
actually,
you're doing it wrong.
Aeolus, actually, I saw a comment on your screen share on the philosophical atheism page that looked kind of interesting. It's that top one there by Brooke Perkins, I think.
Yeah, I was saving that one for last because it was the one that I kind of wanted to address. So let's hit this other one. Mubarak Bala says, sure, there's the need. Rise in awareness will curb the hold that religion placed on people's minds, which leads to occasional fundamentalism and violence. And then we have Brooke Perkins. Personally, no. I think the science speaks for itself, and providing creationism isn't taught in schools, then people will see reason in their own time. I'm going to disagree with that, but GE, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I was just going to say that it apparently hasn't. I mean, the science has spoken for itself for a while now. I mean, it's not like evolution is this new concept that has just now become a fact, I mean, the scientific community has accepted evolution as a fact for a while, and we're discovering new things every day about evolution. We're improving the theory. We're improving our knowledge about all of that all the time, of course. But I mean, I think that if the science were to actually speak for itself, then we wouldn't have politicians in office right now that think, that autism is divine punishment or anything. I know that woman didn't get into office, but she got too close to actually being in office. And I would bet you that she's not the only politician that thinks that. Because I mean, there was that one senator. I think he's a senator from Georgia. That is actually, he was on the science board or something like that, but he said that evolution was straight from the devil's mouth or straight from the pit of hell or something like that. And so you have these people in these high positions, or these people that feign themselves as being intellectuals that say, no, evolution's wrong, you need to believe me because I have this pile of evidence that is really just this one book. And so I think that if the science were to actually speak for itself, we would see more of an acceptance of it. Like we're already seeing a small rise in acceptance of evolution and just science in general. But if we're going to be any kind of really world leader or anything like that, or get back in the game, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If we're really going to get back in the game, we need to up that learning speed, up that learning curve in order to stay with the current times. And I just simply don't think that right now, with the amount of people in high-ranking positions that are actively working against the scientific community, and they are actually in positions where they can actually put pretty steep road blocks in the scientific community. I think that we're facing like a serious slowdown of it if we're not careful.
I agree with you, and I mean, evolution has been there for over 150 years now, and just as a specific example here, the Catholic Church has accepted evolution for since the 1960s, and the Pope comes out and he says, "Hey, evolution," and then everybody freaks the fuck out. Hey, what? Evolution? But they didn't even realize that they have accepted it since the 60s, and the problem with that is people have not been vocalizing it enough. We have not been putting the science out there until recently, really. I mean, you have what they call the four horsemen of the apocalypse really pushing evolution, and that is probably why the Pope had to address it, because it's becoming popularized. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson said, it's cool to be a scientist right now. They are the new rock star. So, Data Lucum?
The issue, actually, is it doesn't actually matter whether or not the science speaks for itself when no one understands how to read or how science itself actually works. Like, reading a scientific paper, you gotta be, like, high school at the earliest to actually grasp, like, the structure of a scientific paper and have a really firm understanding of the scientific method. And I didn't learn how to do that all that well in high school, and I was in a really good high school. So there's a difference between regurgitating facts into somebody's head and then having them firmly understand where that information came from and how to apply that information to something else. For that, we need like an education reform. We can't just say like the science will speak for itself, because it doesn't if you can't read it.
That is a great point.
I agree too. Yeah, I agree that the science doesn't speak for itself, because if I thought it did, I wouldn't be doing this. And just as a quick anecdote, my brother was grading some standardized tests out of Colorado, and he's not a teacher or anything. It's just a job that he does on the side. He grades these tests from high schools, and so he had these high school seniors. They were asking these questions about carbon dating. And these high school seniors were giving responses like, "I don't believe in carbon dating. I believe in Jesus. I believe in creationism. This isn't accurate," and all this kind of stuff. So, here we have public school students who cannot be taught creationism in their classroom, who are taught evolution and and dating techniques and all that kind of stuff, and they just completely block it out of their mind. They don't even attempt to understand it. They just go with the stuff that they were told by their church or at home or whatever, and that's why we have to continue to press this issue and try to explain to them, how science works. Because, that's the thing. Scientific journals are not easy to read through. There's a lot of nomenclature. There's a lot of terminology. There's a lot of methodology, and explanations and things. It gets, unless you're someone who's really familiar with science, you're not really going to even understand half of the stuff in there. And then even having somebody actually explain it to you, and then kind of give you the synopsis and the conclusions and the data and things like that. Even then, if you're not going to be receptive to it, then it's really tough. It's really tough to get through to people. So that's why we have to continue getting people to understand how science operates and how we arrive at these conclusions.
And
all I can see is the Bible, therefore it's true. All I can see is the Bible, therefore it's true.
Shut the hell up. I'm talking. One of the problems with that is scientists aren't doing the public any favors, unfortunately. There are some that are like, finally, like, here's how to explain this awesome thing called science in simple terms so that anyone can understand it and that sounds awesome. And that's what you, like, you know this, Prototype. Like, when you work in research, there's a language in each. There's a language in the field, and there's a language in each lab. And it's hard to go like, all right, so now I'm used to talking with all these giant words. How the hell am I supposed to explain this to a child?
Yeah, so, absolutely, and that's a good point,
because
there's
no reason. There's no reason to explain things in really complicated language.
Yeah, but it's sometimes hard when you're in that field and trying to put it into words that a layman would understand. But that's an important point because you have creationists. They don't understand what the scientific definition of evolution is or what the scientific definition of a theory is, and that's like a complete non-starter right from the get-go. Like they don't even have an
That's the
understanding
first
of what
question
those
I
basic
ask
words mean.
every time.
And yeah, and so trying to get even beyond that is a struggle. So that's a really good point that you bring up there.
It gets really frustrating because like I work in an engineering research lab and I do interdisciplinary work with a paleontology group, so that's all sorts of magic. But what gets really like muddled is cross field, like across different disciplines, that language is completely off. And I kind of understand why an individual field has to have really condensed language, because if you don't, then that's kind of like you need to write papers that are like 2-3 pages and have 5 years worth of information packed into it.
Yeah.
And to do that, you have to use really condensed, meaningful, and like comprehensive language. But when you're explaining a concept to somebody who doesn't even understand at all what you're talking about, you need to completely not just decondense the information you're trying to provide, but decondense the method by which you learned it to begin with. And a lot of scientists can't do that anymore. It's kind of the difference between a teacher and a stereotypical college professor.
Yeah, and I think I make that mistake myself sometimes too, because I forget that people don't understand what I'm talking about. They don't have the expertise or the experience that I do, and so when I'm trying to explain things or use these words, sometimes I forget about that. And another thing, real quickly, is that it seems like some of these scientists that are really good at explaining things to people, just lay people, like Neil deGrasse Tyson or Bill Nye or these sorts of scientists, unfortunately, they don't really embrace the label of atheist. I understand why they don't. It's because they don't want that to overtake, what they're trying to teach people. They don't want people to see that label and then say like, oh, well, I'm just completely shutting down and I'm not going to listen to you. So I understand it because their goal is to educate people. But at the same time, like they're so good at teaching science to people in an understandable manner, that's something that's intelligible to people. But then they're not also at the same time showing them that they're an atheist and then that's how they can arrive at that position.
I can kind of understand in another way. It's like every human being has the issue of attributing labels to themselves out of convenience or as trying to develop a sense of identity. And identity is very important, and labels for that are awesome. But when your goal, what you see yourself as, is an educator, then even if like we in the atheist community see the label atheist as important, it's a pointless word if your life's goal is just to educate people.
Yeah.
Because it's irrelevant. It's basically like saying I'm white and an educator. It's like, why did you mention you're white?
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of like what your cause is or what your aim is, I mean, obviously I do want to educate people, but I want to educate them toward a specific aim, because I understand that religion isn't true, and I understand that religion causes a lot of harm, and it also causes a lot of science denial. So I do understand what you're saying. People can apply whatever label they want to themselves. I choose to embrace and own the label of atheist, and if that happens to turn people off, then so be it. But, I'm trying to get out to people why I'm an atheist and how they can arrive at that position through what I'm trying to explain to them.
That is kind of one of the goals, quote unquote, is the idea that through logical reasoning and evidence, atheism is just the inevitable outcome.
Right, that's the thing. It's not really a position or something that you're converted to, so to say. It's something that it's just a conclusion. It's just a side effect of having the knowledge required to understand why that's a logical or rational, defensible position. But anyways, do we have any more questions or anything else that we need to get into here, Aeolus?
We do have a couple more comments to read, and then we need to move on into the hypocrite of the week. So let's go ahead here. We have, get my password right. We have Professor Dubinsky. He says, in reference to the question, yes, entirely. If liars can keep lying for centuries, the truth tellers have much more of a right to go around preaching. Why? Because it's actually true. You want to say anything about that?
Well, I would agree. I mean, just because, I guess promoting a more secular worldview is similar to Christians promoting theirs. I mean, I really don't think that should prevent us from promoting it. I mean, I think a lot of atheists get caught up in trying to be different than they used to be, or different in how religious people generally are, that they don't, they get so caught up in wanting to be different that they really miss out on good opportunities to make a good change for our society. And I really hate that. So that's why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to show, because I'm an atheist in the Bible Belt, and so I'm kind of standing up, and I'm saying that if I can stand up and speak out against all this religious hypocrisy and everything that's going around, I mean, I encourage you to do the same. I'm not trying to shame anybody into doing it or anything like that, but I'm just saying that I guess I just found myself thinking, well, if I want a change to happen, then I've got to be that change to make it happen. I can't expect other people to do it for me. And so that's why it's one of the biggest pet peeves that I have when I see people that will jump on the bandwagon of totally destroying a senator or any kind of politician that says something stupid, concerning their religious faith. But then they also criticize me pretty heavily for the images that I post on Facebook or something like that. That really bugs the crap out of me, because it just feels like, well, okay, look, if you don't want me to, promote, my worldview, but yet you're going to sit there and jump on the bandwagon, against politicians and anybody else that speaks out that's, just obviously stupid. You really don't have any kind of room to talk. You really shouldn't bitch about it, is how I feel.
I have a friend that just sent me a picture that she wanted me to show you guys. She says she is watching even from inside Chili's on her phone, watching our show. Look at that. Yes.
Awesome.
I love it.
So popular. We have now reached the Chili's franchise. We will now rule the world.
And we got Data Lucum on here. So moving on here, we got the Atheist. He says, kind of. I'm going to read two of these because they kind of tie into what we just talked about, and they're kind of similar in nature. The Atheist, kind of. I think we need more people to know we exist, either to help the closeted atheists come out or give people another option. And then Tyler Thigh, creator FP, says, I think it would be wise to spread the word of intelligence, knowledge, and logic to the world so people would be less judging on atheists and the misconceptions that people have of us. Also, it would be nice to explain why atheism is good and the right choice. I agree with him on this. I think that historically the term atheist has been given a negative connotation. I think that religions give atheist or apostasy a negative connotation. If we wanted to talk Christianity specifically here, we've got Psalms 14:1, which says, the fool says in his heart that there is no God, and that they do abominable works, and that none of them do good. So not only do we have a biblical reference here that says that atheists are these horrible people that can never do a good deed, but we've also got the historical part of the term that says, the atheists have been bad throughout history. Anybody else want to comment?
Yeah, real quickly. I mean, whether people want to call themselves atheists, humanists, godless, whatever the case may be, I agree 100% that atheists do need to be out and open and public about their stance, and that will not only get people to normalize atheism and understand that we're just normal people, we're not, evil or anything of that nature, we're not immoral. And people probably already know us. We're their family members, we're their friends, whatever. They're people that they interact with on a daily basis. And it's worked very well for the LGBT community, just getting themselves out there, coming out of the closet, and that's helped other people to do the same, and then that's helped normalize it. And then if you see the progress they've made in such a very short time, in just the last 10, 15 years, and I'd like to think that we can do that with atheism, get people to understand that we're just normal people, and maybe start listening to us as well.
The one thing okay, so this is not super on topic, but it's just on the particular quotes from the Bible. It's just like, of course the Bible is going to say that. It's equivalent to a person having like alien paranoia or something, and saying like, the aliens told me that you wouldn't believe me. Like, that's what it's at. That's exactly the same thing to me.
Many scoffers and mockers will come.
It's so stupid. It's like, of course the fictional book is going to warn you that people won't believe it. That is more evidence it's a scam to me.
They will persecute you in my name because of me.
It's like a freaking pyramid scheme. It's like, oh, the people that won't want to join and make fun of you, yeah, that's just because they're not ready yet. They're not ready to take the next step into their future. It's like, no, it's because it's bullshit. Anyway, to the actual topic.
Cherry Teresa says
probably.
Peter, oh, go. Oh, well.
Oh no, to the actual topic thing. It's like, yes, as a matter of fact, probably one of the best things anyone can do is just act like a decent, normal person, because most of us are. And just, if you're an atheist, just mention it when it comes up. You don't have to be in a fight to be part of the right cause, honestly. You can just be like, yeah, I'm mowing my lawn and I'm an atheist. Atheists like keeping their yards clean, apparently. Anyway.
Oh, really? That's something that we do? Crap. I gotta get on that this summer.
No, I kind of got a lot of leaves out there right now. It's kind of looking pretty rough outside.
Bad atheists.
Yeah, that's just another item on the atheist agenda, is mowing the lawn. Very exciting stuff.
Oh,
very dastardly and evil.
Guys. Anyway, you were saying whoever your host, I can't pronounce your name.
Aeolus. Call me Aeolus.
Aeolus. Isn't that the south wind?
The Greek god of the wind, so close enough.
I thought it was Zephyr is the south wind. I'm sorry.
Close
Aeolus
enough. At least you associated it with wind.
No, it's the keeper of the winds that gives Odysseus the bag that the one guy opens because he's an idiot.
Yes.
Anyway.
Cherry Teresa says Peter Boghossian has a great book on this, A Manual for Creating Atheists, and Logical Anomaly says, no, we don't need to fight stupid with stupid.
Well, that's stupid.
I'm not commenting on this one.
That sounds stupid.
I've been in arguments before where people are like, where I've had to come in and say like, come on, man, you're an atheist. Stop being an idiot. This is such a bad argument.
Well, I mean, like, I've had to do that too, but I don't know. I don't think it's stupid. It's like, you don't fight stupid with stupid. What's stupid about promoting, a secular mindset? I really don't see the stupid in it. Yeah. No, I know. I guess I'm just disagreeing with the comment in general. It just seems really, really, really dumb to even say that. It seems like very, I guess, narrow-minded is the word or phrase that I'm looking for. I think that, is that a word or a phrase? I don't know. Anyways, it just seems very narrow-minded to say that, because it's not dumb or stupid to promote, a secular mindset. So that's all I got to say about that.
And like an equivalent phrase, fight fire with fire, that actually works sometimes. So,
Yeah, I don't agree that we're fighting
I'm
stupid
fighting
with
stupid.
stupid. I think that would be more appropriate for, like, a Muslim trying to convert a Christian or something along those lines. So.
Yeah, then they both figure out, wait a second,
Yeah.
we're both full of shit.
Okay, we've got I. McCormick says, while I turning atheism into sort of a missionary belief system, I wish more closeted atheists would feel comfort knowing atheism is prominent in today's society. I wouldn't necessarily say it's prominent, but it is gaining ground, and we are the fastest growing minority out there. Anybody else have something to say about that?
Is it bad that when you said missionary, the first thing I thought of was a sex position?
No.
No, I'm right there with you, man. So.
Okay, I'm glad I'm not alone on that one.
Hey, didn't you know atheists are some of the most perverted people out here? Didn't you know?
No, we're not the most perverted. We're just the only ones that'll admit it.
That is true, and our hypocrite of the week segments prove that. So we've got Santos Morales. Oh, I lost it there. He says, Lestat, what do you want to tell the other vampires out there? I'd say come out wherever you are. I believe that is that a Vampire Chronicles reference. Basically telling you atheists that you need to come out. But as we've discussed previously, come out if you're financially able to, if you are emotionally ready to cut ties with people that are going to kind of sort of discriminate against you because you're an atheist, or perhaps even disown you because you are an atheist. So don't just come out because we're telling you to. Make sure your life is in order and you're ready to come out.
And as we were mentioning in this video, coming out doesn't actually mean you have to suddenly be strident and march in the streets. You can just admit it to yourself. That's the first
neighbor!
step.
I'm a fucking atheist, neighbor!
It's 4 in the morning! Shut the fuck up!
I'm mowing my lawn!
No, we'll be sure to send out all the Darwin flags so everybody can plant them.
I'm an atheist! I'm mowing my lawn!
I'm mowing my lawn! Okay, logical anti-theism. Nice name there. He says, yes, when people are trying to pass legislations founded on religious dogmas and threatening our education system because of their supernatural beliefs, it becomes imperative that we stand up and speak out. And then he caught his second wind and left another comment. Sorry to pick on you there. These people want to hold back science because it doesn't coincide with their unfounded, preconceived notions, but they don't realize that when you hold back science, you hold back education, technology, medicine, healthcare, and our economy. We absolutely need to use our voices to speak out against this ridiculous nonsense. Well, I know for Christians here in America, they go, hey, give me that cell phone, give me that antibiotic, give me all these benefits of science, but Bible, 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 Jesus, Jesus, God.
I lost my train of thought.
Was that too strong for you guys? It was all God, and it was all prayer. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I just love when people tell me that Jesus cured their cancer, and then I ask them if they yeah, of course, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, thanks Jesus, all right, awesome job.
I forgot what the question was.
Jesus. Yeah, I don't know, but he did a pretty good job explaining it there. I don't think we really needed to discuss it too much. Seeking the Truth says, I agree with Logical Anomaly. Logical Anomaly was the guy that said something about, no, we don't need to fight stupid with stupid. So, yeah.
He gives logic a bad name. Like, he should not be using logic in his name. With this
give logic a bad name.
Well, you know how, like,
that's usually a dead giveaway.
No, you know the religious right, they own all the true sciences and the true morality.
Oh, the true.
It's like focus on the family, like all these things are just like we have the nicest sounding words, so therefore our position's right.
Listen here, we've got traditional marriage and traditional family values right here in this book.
Yes, you do. You want me to tell you what they are?
We need another live show for that.
I did one of these, and I was really happy with it, where I just read some of the raunchiest parts of the Bible by candlelight.
Ooh.
It's on my channel somewhere. It was fun.
Sounds sexy. Did you read about the one where the woman sticks her hand under the door, or the guy sticks his hand under the door, and the woman shits in his hand? It's supposed to be sexy as hell.
Or what about Ezekiel 23 and 20? It's one of my favorites. Those donkey dicks were long as shit, and their sperm shot off like fire hoses from a fire truck.
She lusted after the Roman.
That's a modern adaptation right there.
Wait, let me see if I can remember it.
And he had emissions like that of a fire truck.
That of donkey, and whose admissions was that of a horse.
I think she was actually lusting after the Egyptians, which is kind of actually funny. Yeah, we won't get into that.
Oh,
but,
let's start teasing Egyptians. That's what we do on the show.
If only I could put porn on YouTube. I've got a great video idea. Just introduce that section and then just have like a porn shot of a facial, and then boom, we got it. That's just the entire video.
Great idea. That's a
YouTube
great
will
idea.
frown on that.
It will, but it's still a good video idea. But the Bible told him.
You just have a picture of.
Be our last episode.
You just have a picture of a horse and a donkey just getting closer together, and then it just blanks out when they actually touch. No, one of the ones that I read was just like, what was it? When it talks about Lot and his daughters getting him drunk and then raping him twice.
Ooh.
Yeah,
to impregnate
the
themselves.
Yes. Bible. If you want, ladies, if you want a kid. No, this is the lesson that it taught me. Is ladies, if you want to have a child and you obviously don't have husbands, since most of everyone you ever knew is dead now, then just get your dad drunk and then you can have sex with him without him even knowing. Then you have a kid.
But only if your mother was turned into a pillar of salt by God first, and then it's okay because you got to carry on the family line. There's rules to these things.
I see. I forgot about that.
There are standards, Dieter. You can't just go around fucking your father all the time, okay?
I'm sorry. I forgot about the magic clause.
Hey, what really happened was they all got drunk and started boning, and then they were like, oh, shit, like, we fucked up. We're going to be stoned for this, but wait! Let's blame it on God. God turned our mother into a pillar of salt.
Like, the one thing that I always point out, the one reason I like pointing that one out is because it also plays in the narrative of how, like, men can never be raped. And it's like, yes, this is an example. That man was raped by his daughters.
Well, now, Dark Matter, he has an excellent video concerning this particular thing because, you know, there's actually, in order to get him that drunk, in order for that scene to play out exactly as it were, for him to be that drunk, he actually couldn't get hard enough to actually insert into them.
Remember how rape works. As long as they are drunk enough to make poor decisions, then it's rape.
Well, here's the thing that I always say, and it kind of has nothing to do with this discussion, but you wouldn't do anything drunk that you haven't already thought about sober. And I'm sticking by that one. I'm sticking to it, okay?
It's like, I kind of agree with that, but then there's also we know that it messes with your brain, and I'm totally fine with consent being an issue when someone's drinking a lot.
Yeah, but how drunk do you have to fucking get to have sex with your daughters?
Hey there, honey. Why don't you just go pick up that rock? Whoops, God's doing this. This is God's fault.
You look like somebody that I used to know.
Daddy, wasn't that a song? No, honey, it wasn't. Turn up that music.
No, you guys, you see, like, this is exactly what I was talking about. And this is a completely sidetracking different video thing about double standards. But it's like, if we were talking about a girl getting drunk and acting really slutty and then sleeping with a bunch of people, then all those guys would be the ones in trouble. But now, because it's the guy getting drunk, he's suddenly responsible for everything. Right. Not cool, guys. Look at you, Prototype.
Well, no,
go right ahead, man.
No, okay. Look, as far as the guy, as the dad getting drunk, I mean, he's making the bad decision. So I mean, I'm of the mindset that so some of the blame completely, not completely, but some of the blame lies on the person being drunk. I mean, if you're,
I completely agree with that. Like, you need to have some self-preservation, but I always have to come back to, all right, so if the girl was the one getting drunk and then a bunch of people had sex with her, then it's her fault.
but see,
Are we allowed to say that?
well, no, you see, I wouldn't say that it's it's her fault that she slept with a whole bunch of guys. I mean,
Yeah,
I really don't know.
It is partly her. I'll just go ahead and say it here, and the feminazis can get me. Yes, it's partly her fault, just like it is partly Lot's fault. Well, it's not like they just went into the cave and were like, Lot, take it down your throat. No, he was sitting there drinking with his daughters. That's what the story alludes to, at least. And so he is responsible for having sex with his daughters, whether we like that answer or not. Whether we like the answer that a woman who gets shit-faced drunk is responsible, yes, she is still partly responsible. You got to carry yourself in a manner that is...
Well, you see,
It's like I've always seen this as a partially failure of our language. Like, I don't know if responsible is the right word, but at the same time, I think you need to have a sense of self-preservation.
Yes.
Well, see, I generally like to see a very equal, like, I guess, weighted equal weight distribution of responsibility. So, like, I mean, I think that there's probably more weight on the persons that aren't drunk, but the person that is drunk, there's less weight on them as far as responsibility goes. I mean, if you didn't really want to put yourself in the position where you are raped, then you shouldn't have gotten drunk. It's not like, it's not like, well, you shouldn't have worn that or anything like that. It's like, no, if you don't trust the people that you're going to be around, you shouldn't get drunk, kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining that right or whatnot, but I think that the responsibility lies on both parties. It's just that the non-drunk or less intoxicated party has more of the responsibility than the drunk party. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yes,
in a different context, an example I give a lot is if you are a woman walking down the street in a seedy part of town, completely naked, no one has the right to touch you, but they probably will. So you shouldn't have gone there.
Yeah.
It's completely the fault of anyone that does anything. They are at fault and they should be in trouble for it. But at the same time, the fuck's wrong with you?
We also have the public indecency and all that law.
Well, yeah. Those things aside, if we're just talking about, like, indecent touching or whatever, then it's like, yes, it is the fault of the people doing that thing. But
by the way, we know that you are intentionally derailing this discussion, but it's okay because you're Data Lucum and we fucking love you and you're awesome and shit like that. So we'll accept it this one time and this one time only.
I'll send you a picture so you can just make out with it on while you try to lull yourself to sleep.
I'm gonna hang it up on the wall back here.
I just want to throw in real quick too. It's funny that you mentioned that because I'm sure you guys are familiar with Venaloid. He's been doing some blogging recently. He hasn't put out many videos at all recently, but he put out a blog recently about this whole kind of topic about feminism and rape culture and all that kind of stuff. And he brought up that point about how it's not a good idea for a woman to go to a part of town and just walk down the street, not even naked, just fully clothed or whatever. But it's not a good idea. And absolutely, we're not blaming the victim here. Nobody is saying that a woman that does this deserves to be assaulted or attacked or have anything bad happen to her. But you have to have the awareness about yourself to understand when you're putting yourself in a bad situation. So to say that a victim is completely 100% free of responsibility or not at fault at all is just wrong. And he caught a lot of heat for this. he actually was going to be impeached at his position as being the president of the Secular Alliance at his university over this, and so it just really shows you how touchy of a subject this is, and it is ridiculous, and that's why I don't really like to address this topic too much. But
here's a completely
that's the
non-feminist
thing
example.
of it, though. You don't put yourself in a bad situation if you don't want bad things to happen to you. Not saying you deserve it, but you should probably not do that.
Right.
No,
And
here's
we're
a
not
completely
saying
non.
that it's right
No, guys.
for them to do it either.
Here's a completely non-feminist example. If you're like in the ghetto, like the really bad part of town, you don't park your car on the street with it unlocked. Like no one has the like. I'm not saying that it's equivalent in any way. Like I'm not making an analogy. I'm just saying this kind of an example is you don't do that. No one has the right to steal your car, but they're probably going to. So you need to be aware of your surroundings.
Hey, that's not just the ghetto. That can be anywhere, man.
I know, in the U.S., it's basically like I have like 5 locks on my doors. Like, I'm ready for shit to go down. But that's...
You know what Jesus says? He says, make sure you're packing your piece.
But that's kind of the issue with this whole subject, is that there's a weird entitlement complex that the world has to protect women, and women have to do nothing to protect themselves. And I think that's just kind of ridiculous. And that is far from equality.
And we teach this too, though. We teach the whole damsel in distress thing. Like, men have to be the protectors of women. We actually teach this whether we want to, admit to it or not.
To a degree, yeah. And the problem is, like, evolutionarily, in our societal past, is that was a thing. Because women are the deciding factor in whether or not a society continues. So we had to protect them with grim death, because grim death was right around the corner. But
Yeah, because
anyway.
men were all like, fuck these kids. I'm not watching them. I'm going out here to hunt some shit.
No, you see, like, no, not even that. It's like, women hunted. Women did stuff.
I
It was
know,
just
I'm
that
just
women
messing
also
with
had to be heavily protected. And men were, as a matter of fact, disposable. But now we don't live there anymore, so let's get rid of this stupid baggage.
It's gonna be hard to do because, and they're probably gonna give me for this one too, but not only do women point out these flaws and these issues, but they also use a lot of them to their advantage, and that's one of the things that we gotta kind of get past too.
No, and we are.
You
And
know,
also,
we're
to be
fighting
fair,
for
there's-
equality. We're also fight. I always say this, and I say it as a joke, but seriously though, you know what I'm saying? I'm joking, but I'm serious. I'm fighting. I'm a feminist, and I'm fighting for women's rights to open a car door for me when we go out on a date.
I'm actually planning a really long video, and I'm just going to give the title because I don't want to give away anything else of it. I'm a better feminist than you are.
That's a good one.
So get ready for that in the next couple weeks. That'll be a fun one.
Damn
All right.
you! Always one-upping people.
I'm getting back on track here because we only got 2 comments left. All right, now this is going to tie into the fact that I have a lot of Christian subscribers and followers, and here's what one of them has to say. His name is Christ922. He says, "No, atheists are so mean. Please don't. You're an exception to the rule, bud. Please don't inspire them to attack."
Attack?
I love how
Attack?
saying you're wrong is the same as being attacked. It's like, why are you attacking me? I'm not. I'm just correcting you.
How exactly are we? I mean, come on. How are we attacking that? It's not like we're putting up legislation that's restricting religious stuff. We're not putting up new legislation that's restricting religion. We are enforcing rules that are already written in the Constitution, that are already written in the Bill of Rights. We are just making them follow the rules that are already laid out, that have been there since the beginning. That is the only thing that we have ever done. And it's the religious crowd, it's the Christians in America that have actually been putting forth new legislation to be written into law to allow them to discriminate based on their own personal, religious beliefs. And that is so dangerous. There's a pastor in Tennessee that is so completely racist. He won't marry a biracial couple. Like if one's white and one's black, they just won't marry. He won't marry them. He thinks that the races need to be separate. Like that. That's what he believes. And so if you combine that with the amount of people that are in this country and whatnot, and the amount of crazy beliefs, just think about it. I mean, if you're a paramedic and you have this weird, deeply held religious belief that says that you can't work on black people. I mean, what if you get called and the person that you have to save is a black person? What are you going to do? Are you going to stand by and watch them die on the side of the road because, nope, the version of Christianity that I believe in says that I hate black people?
Hey, G, guess what?
Huh?
Legislation did just pass that said that paramedics can decide not to treat LGBTQ people.
I know, and that's why I'm bringing it up, and that's why it's scary.
And that is terrible. And but as soon as we try to do things like, okay, I was in the military, and in the military we had this kind of sort of unspoken rule, but it was spoken. Like you could be punished if you saw another member of the military over here, dying, suffering, and you didn't help or perform CPR. The whole Good Samaritan thing. But you would actually be punished if you didn't do it. And to me, that's something that I think that it kind of should be a thing for everyone, especially the paramedics. Now, everyone will say, well, you might get sued for doing CPR on somebody or anything like that. But within the paramedics, they should have that same code. And then the same people, which are the religious people, try to scream out, well, that's, you're trying to enforce that on us. That's socialism or communism. Like, it's a bad thing to be a good Samaritan and try to save someone's life.
If I could have just addressed that comment real quickly, it seemed to me like they were kind of paying us the compliment, saying that like we're the exception, that we kind of do a good job of not quote-unquote attacking religion or religious people. But they kind of had this opinion that most atheists are kind of really aggressive or militant or whatever you want to call it in attacking religious people, and so that like by us being out there, we're like inspiring them to do that. And maybe that's the case. I don't know. Maybe that's just their personal opinion or experience. I know that personally, the reason that I decided to start doing this and start my channel and everything was because I felt like there was too much, all the atheism was being represented too much by people that were really aggressive and just kind of screamy and yelling at people. And, I don't, like I said, I don't begrudge anybody their style or how they want to approach it or whatever. I just felt like I could bring something different to the table. And so I think that, if anything, we could serve as a good role model as to how people should approach it. I'm not saying that we're like the most correct or anything like that, but I'm just saying I think that we are more civil in our approach. So I think that we would be a good role model as far as that goes.
I agree, and I have a lot of religious. No, they haven't, but in mine either. But I have a lot of religious followers, and they feel the same way. And it's because we make fun of religion, but at the end of the day, we love you as a person, and I really don't care what you believe, as long as you're just keeping it to yourself and you're going about your business. And the moment that atheist becomes not a term that we have to announce anymore, like come out of the closet, and it becomes not so have a derogatory meaning associated with it, then I'm done with this channel. Mission accomplished. I don't need to do anything else.
Well, and I would like to point out a little how backwards that comment is. Like, you're an exception to the rule, but don't inspire them to attack. Well, if you are an exception to the rule, as in you don't attack, then how could you inspire them to attack? What it seems like to me is that they are trying to say that you just being you inspires other people to attack. Like you are responsible for how they react. Like you're directly responsible for how they, how they voice their atheism. Now, I could see a link there if you were the type of person to be like, yeah, you need to go out there, you need to find the nearest Christian, you need to punch them in the face because that's what they deserve. But, you're not like that. None of us are like that. I don't really even know an atheist that is like that. I'm not saying that those people don't exist, but I mean, assholes are going to be assholes no matter what faith you're in. So I guess I'm just kind of commenting on how nonsensical the comment is on itself and how it just kind of completely destroys itself by the time it gets to the end.
Well, there's some atheists out there that, okay, so we talked about the phases of atheism before, where when you first become an atheist, one of a couple things happens, and one of those things happens to be that you become angry that you've been lied to, and these angry people sometimes lash out. Now, hopefully, these people mature in their journey and they don't continue to do that, and we're never advocating for anyone to be that angry that they are attacking you. So if you're experiencing someone attacking you, then yes, we're going to say it's wrong, and we don't want that to happen. And what is he doing with that donut?
It's a telescope, man.
Oh! I know what I want to do with that donut. All right, so we've got one more comment. Let's knock this thing out really, really quickly here. We've got T-Varus. He says, in reference to the question, yes, not in the core sense of the word evangelical, though. Otherwise, we just have a bunch of dummies following, misinterpreting, and acting on what they do not understand. Again, that's where the true danger of religion lies, the actions manifested through the ignorance of a believer. We need to take the aggressive steps that need to be taken, all over the shoes of organized religion. Not in a chauvinistic way, but in a ruthless way. If the tactics they use to propagate their nonsense... How long is this comment? If the tactics they use to propagate their nonsense are that of what's depicted in Kidnapped for Christ and Jesus Camp, warping and destroying hundreds of thousands of minds, the least we should be able to get away with is a fucking billboard or two in the Bible Belt. That wouldn't do anything anyway. It'll push the people farther into faith with anger until we can separate an individual... Run on sentence, man. Until we can separate an individual's rational, clinical thinking brain... Oh, my bad. Clinical thinking Brian from the safety of their ignorance. We are always... Okay, look. There is a limit on comments, and we don't want to take away from your comment here because you have a really great comment. It's very well articulated. There's only one run-on sentence there I was making fun of, but it's a really great comment, and you're putting a good point there. Is that atheists do need to come out. We do need to be vocal, and we do need to explain our position. So sorry that I couldn't read the whole essay there.
The one thing that I
think dinner over there has got. Did you go to White Castle? Because you got a dessert on a stick there. It's making me hungry. But anyways, I just want to address real quickly the point about the atheist billboards. Very nice. Entenmann's always a good choice. I love them. The atheist billboards, from American Atheists, that's more of like a firebrand version of atheism, kind of, confronting Christians at this time of year about Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And whether that's your style or not or whatever, but I think it's good because it generates conversation. It's meant to be provocative. I mean, it's also an advertisement for their convention coming up next year, so, there's that. But, as far as that goes, I think it's just amazing. I think the hypocrisy, because you have the fact that we have thousands of billboards in the Bible Belt telling people that they're going to go to hell if they don't believe in Jesus, and then atheists put up one billboard saying that, hey, Jesus maybe doesn't exist, or, let's not go to church on Christmas, and try to, roll in some irony there with a little girl writing a letter to Santa Claus saying she doesn't believe in fairy tales, which this apparently went over the head of a lot of the people that were reacting to this. But I was perfectly okay with it. I thought it was, if that's how they want to do their messaging, if that's how they want to address it, I think it's good to create conversation. And, personally, it's stuff like this time of year, it kind of reminds you, you can look at the statistics or understand that most people are theists or whatever, but, I was driving down one of the main roads here, like where I live, and all these people had these banners, in front of their houses or on their fences and all this, that probably one of the local churches were giving out or selling or whatever, all just saying like Jesus is the reason for the season and all this stuff. And it was kind of depressing because it kind of reminds you that like this many people actually believe this stuff, that Jesus Christ was the creator of the universe, that was born of a virgin, and they like based their life around this. And so I don't have any problem with the American atheists putting up a few billboards in a few cities to kind of put a competing message out there to, if nothing else, generate discussion.
The one thing that I keep mentioning, and I think I mentioned it at the end because I keep mentioning it, so continue the pattern, is the idea that since a lot of religious belief has nothing to do with actual evidence, it just has to do with propagating a narrative. Like, excuse me, eating lots of donuts. It's producing a particular narrative. And this is a narrative that the people have grown up with. It's a thing that encompasses a lot of their identity and a lot of their lives. And because of that, since it's not based on evidence, it has to be propagated and reinforced through other means. And one of those, I think, is stuff like billboards and constant repetition and repeated phrases and all that sort of stuff. Just to reinforce this has to be true because of sheer passage of time and just by numbers. Because if you don't have evidence on your side, you have to have like intense emotional attachment to make yourself believe that it's true. So that's when someone puts up like a billboard, or even when someone just says, actually, I don't believe in what you're saying. I think that's one of the reasons people see it as an actual attack, as opposed to just a criticism. Because it's just like, you are crumbling my entire worldview with your awful billboards. And it's like, no, I'm not. It's a billboard. You have thousands. It's like, that's not the problem. It's because the thousands is in the normalized part of their brain. It's in the part of their lives that they've already accepted that this is how the world is supposed to be. And you're shattering that. And to that I say, keep doing it. Never stop rocking the boat. Because when you can rock somebody out of their comfortable delusion, they can finally start addressing the actual evidence that is presented in their lives. It's not nice, and it's not fun, but it's necessary.
I'm with you on that. So just to wrap up here, the last thing that Tavares said was he actually corrected his grammar and everything there, and he actually said that he meant critical thinking, but he also wrapped up with, my thought is the theist and atheist are doomed to squabble eternally until we can change whatever predisposition people have about trusting their own mind. Consciousness is a scary thing. Ignoring it is scarier. Do we need evangelical atheists? Yes. So real quickly, what you said there about trusting your own mind, here's the problem, is that you can never trust your own mind, and that's why so many people are wrapped up in religions. They have this personal experience, and it's unfalsifiable, and to them it is the most realist thing that they have ever experienced. I know, I had similar things happen to me when I was religious, and sometimes you just can't explain things, but you also can't jump the gun and go, because of this, therefore this, You can't just always trust your mind. You have to trust in the scientific method. Can you replicate what happened to you? Can you duplicate it? If not, it probably was something that you dreamt up or thought of in your mind or your consciousness came up with. The brain is a very powerful thing, and this is demonstrated through visual illusions, auditory illusions, etc. Anybody have anything to say about that? That was the last comment.
One thing that's kind of funny is like the entire endeavor of science is just getting outside of your own brain and accepting that you can definitely be wrong. Ideally, obviously. Scientists are not immune to thinking that just because they think it, that means it must be true. We're all still human, but your lights are flickering. That's kind of weird.
It's not actually flickering. I have no idea why it does that. It does it sometimes.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I was wondering if you were just like, yeah, your power's about to go out. Anyway, ideally, the endeavor of science is to mitigate the errors that a single human mind can make. and standardize the way that you can do experiments to get to such a point that you're able to actually get over this sort of stuff. So hopefully we can do some more of that.
Are you guys ready to move on into the hypocrite of the week?
Yes.
So Data Lucum, we do this segment of the show. It's the last segment of the show every week where we pick a person in the religious community who is obviously a hypocrite, and we give them the award Hypocrite of the Week. So, it is time for Hypocrite of the Week! This week's Hypocrite of the Week goes to a traveling pastor who developed his own Ponzi scheme and still believed that he was a man of God and actively preached that he was a man of God, and not only deceived hundreds of people, but also robbed them of their retirement savings. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and play the video now.
Wait, so how's that different than any other church?
Well, you'll see. The problem is, okay, before we even watch the video, so the problem is that is what churches do. But this guy didn't even have a church. He didn't even want to be legit with it, if you can call it that. Like, he didn't want to legitimize his money-making scheme here. He actually Ponzi schemed it, so let me know if you guys can see it and hear it. Let's do a little present to everyone here. Okay.
A 68-year-old man is headed to federal prison. A judge sentenced Thomas Kimmel to 22 years for money laundering. What's more astonishing is that he preyed on people at church. More than 300 victims handed over nearly $20 million. Bruce Mildorp shows us how he was able to convince so many people to give so much for so long.
He's a charismatic, smooth-talking salesman.
If you know how to tell when a salesman's lying? His lips are moving. Amen.
Thomas Kimmel traveled to churches across the country, including some in North Carolina, pitching a risk-free investment in a Johnston County used car business.
I didn't know about that one. I didn't know about it either, but I got tired of losing money.
In actuality, it was very risky, and he encouraged churchgoers to withdraw their retirement savings and pay the 6% penalty.
And if you take those funds and then move them into a 12% fund, for instance, you're obviously you're making the spread. You're making the difference there.
Before committing to anything, he suggested they seek godly advice.
And the best godly counsel I know of sitting in this church is the man of God. Amen. So you go see your preacher, and I'm not offended. If he doesn't like it and you say, I don't want to do it, Brother Kim, cool, that's okay with me.
Investors made good money between 2006 and 2011 until the scheme collapsed.
The worst way is against him with him, and that, I don't mean at his testimony. I mean what they would see in the, on the videotapes.
His commissions totaled $1.9 million. His lawyer says a third of that went to charity, another third to taxes. Kimmel testified he believed in the investment. Among the listed victims, Kimmel's wife and other close relatives. His sister and brother-in-law walked out of the courthouse with him. They stood by Kimmel and testified he never lied. They invested almost $500,000 into the company and lost it all, just like everyone else. Bruce Mildorp, WREL News, Raleigh.
Thomas Kimmel.
Okay.
It's so astonishing that this happened in a church.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 500,000 times. Maybe I just don't need to handle money anymore.
This just really pisses me off, though, because I really hate it when someone takes the religion and then actively and knowingly uses it for their own personal gain or to harm others. Now, he knew that this was some bullshit, and not everybody in the religious community always knows that it's bullshit, okay? Sometimes they're so wrapped up and that they actually believe in it. But come on, man, he says that he believed in it, but that doesn't mean shit because he knew, come on, invest in a car dealership somewhere in Johnston County.
It's in the Bible. I saw it.
Oh, yeah, it's right next to that that verse in Exodus. It's right next to that verse in Exodus where Moses creates modern democracy and writes the Constitution.
No, it's in that part where Jesus said that you should never do business in a church.
No, see,
right next to that one.
it must have been a Honda dealership because there's that part of the Bible where it said that Jesus did not speak of his own accord. So he was very modest in that.
Thou shalt not turn my father's house into a den of thieves. It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven.
How much is rich? Is that like 500 million a year?
Compared to Jesus's time, his time period where he was, believed to have lived, we're all fucking rich right now. So yeah, we're rolling in the dough.
You have a magic box you can be entertained with for all days? It's like, yeah. Doesn't everybody?
Okay, man, and listen, like, this is the worst of the worst because there were a lot of victims. I was reading the story there. There were actually a lot of victims. And not only were there victims, but these people continued to believe in him, his brother-in-law, and they even said that he bamboozled his wife out of thousands of dollars.
No, it's this is one of the reasons I find a huge danger in things like a church. Because that kind of hierarchy just automatically gives justification to the people lower in that hierarchy. Especially because a lot of them elected to be there to begin with. They elected to be underneath somebody else's foot. So when someone takes advantage of that, like, it's so unsurprising to me that it's like worth a nod. It's like, yeah, of course that happened. This is what happens when you do that to yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the worst part of the way that they presented the story is that they're like, oh, it's so astonishing that he's a man of God or he uses church to do this. Like, I think he obviously knew what he was doing, and he chose to go that route purposely. The church that I was attending, like prior to before I became an atheist, I really became disenfranchised with it because it seemed like every week they just had these people coming in asking for money. And now it wasn't for like investment opportunities or anything like that, but it was like it seemed like people were always coming in wanting to do charity work or do mission work or something. It was just like always somebody new coming in asking for money, and I was just kind of like, what are we doing here? What is this about? So it really just turned me off. And these are just the worst kind of people that not only take people's money but take their retirement. I mean, this guy convinced people to take their retirement money out and give it to him, and so they've completely lost everything that they had stashed aside to live on for the rest of their lives. And that's the worst of it, really. So this guy is just awful. He's a terrible predator, and I hope that he gets what's coming to him.
And the worst part is they don't even have they don't know where all the funds went. I mean, they said that he made commissions off of this, and it was like, what, $1.9 million? But I read in the article there was like $20 million worth of buy-ins. So he convinced these people to take out their retirement, to suffer that penalty for taking out the retirement, and then invest with him, and over a 5-year period, they actually made some money, which is how these Ponzi schemes work. They make it seem like it's legit, and then they lost everything.
It's just despicable. But do you know probably the thing I hate most about these sort of situations is they're not going to learn anything from this, most likely. Like the people in the actual church. They'll just be like, oh, obviously this guy was wrong, but I'm still going to give money to my church and my pastor.
It was obviously Satan. Satan did it. He's not a bad guy, and that's why the brother-in-law is still sticking with him. His sister and his brother-in-law, they're sticking with him because it was all Satan.
Oh, I thought you said Satan. It's like, yeah, Satan's actually not that bad of a guy if you read the Bible.
Actually, that is the godly thing to do, right? I mean, it's just one step below going to your neighboring town and, killing all the men and children and taking all the virgins for yourself. It's just one step below that.
Satan's not the one that said that. I dropped the stone at it, but I'm still going to eat it.
5-second rule is in effect.
I think I also stepped on it while I was looking for it.
That's a scientific fact. The 5-second rule, that's legitimate.
Of course it is. Have you seen that Vsauce video?
No, it's not.
Like, nothing actually...
You're a microbiologist.
Anything else? Nothing actually touches anything, which is that Vsauce video that kind of blows your mind. Like your hands
on that
never
level,
actually
nothing
touch.
actually touches. Yeah, on that macro scale, get bigger things. They do touch each other.
Is that the defense that Catholic priests are trying to use now?
Oh.
I didn't actually touch little Johnny.
Oh, that's so bad.
Science. You know, as soon as they get in the hole, science has my side on this.
Oh, that was the thing I wanted to... So I said, like, getting the legitimacy of the church behind this guy caused a lot of the problems. I think a lot of, from the early part of the conversation, getting the legitimacy of science and just tacking it onto your bullshit. Most common thing I've ever seen. Because it's like we were saying before. It's like, yeah, science agrees with this bullshit, which means now science is useful. Unless you're talking, then science is wrong and evil. Acting as if science is some kind of sauce you can just pour on something.
Well, that shouldn't really surprise us because they don't own the Bible either, unless it agrees with them. So why wouldn't they do that with anything else?
I actually had a conversation recently, and this was with a Christian who believed that the Noah's flood happened. And I was explaining very cordially, like, actually, no, like, these are the things you would expect to have happened if there was a worldwide flood, and none of them exist. We know they don't exist. And then I'm like, you know what the Bible does talk about, though? You're going into morals, and it was like, yeah, slavery. Yeah, slavery's in the Bible. Did you know that? And he didn't. He didn't know that it was in the Bible.
Proper way to beat your slave, too.
But to not even know it was in there.
They don't read it, man. There was a study that came out that said 80% of American Christians don't even read their Bible. And this was a study done by a Christian organization who polled Christians on if they read the Bible or not. They didn't even lie. They were like, nah, man, I don't read the Bible. That's some bullshit.
Like, kudos for being truthful.
So anyway, back to this Ponzi scheme guy, because I didn't officially stamp him with Hypocrite of the Week, and that is the traditional thing to do. So, for deceiving multiple congregations across America for buying into this ridiculous, you know, junkyard car salesman bullshit down there in South Carolina or wherever it was.
Do you guys vote? Do you, like, vote if the person gets stamped?
No, we kind of just stamp them.
Oh.
And then I kind of do, like, a motion, like... where I slam on my desk and stamp them.
Yeah. This is what happens when I don't watch episodes before I come onto a show.
So anyway,
the important thing to know is that it's all very efficient.
So for all of this guy's bullshit, deceiving people out of their retirement funds, not knowing your own Bible, and attempting to get rich off of a Ponzi scheme when rich people can't get into heaven according to the Bible, but still proclaiming yourself to be a man of God and deceiving all these people, as we mentioned, I'm stamping you with Hypocrite of the Week. Motherfucker. Hope they rape your ass in jail.
Not funny. Rape is not funny. Bad.
It's a finite crime.
You're acting like that makes it better. It's like, congratulations, you identified it correctly.
We're known to get a little crazy on here sometimes, but we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. So let's give a special shout out to Dater Lukum for coming. You know, I got all fanboy on y'all and shit. So how do I make this toolbox work again? It's not working. Where is it? There it is. You can support us at patreon.com/reason. And 50% of our funds go to the Freedom from Religion Foundation because it is one of my favorite organizations. And the other 50% goes toward Reason and supporting things like getting Prototype Atheist some new video editing software. So a couple other things, though. You should really go to our site and support us by purchasing our new T-shirts. We've got the Rational T there. It is up for pre-order, and it is shipping out January 20th. And that was designed by me. We've got the Think Skeptically Stay Godless T-shirt, which was designed by the Godless Engineer. It's also shipping on January 20th. We've got the Standard Reason Tee, Which, you know what, because we love Dieter Lucum and he's such a stand-up guy, we're going to mail him one of these for free! You can purchase those on our website, thesecularroundtable.com. We don't have a sample of the prototype Atheist t-shirt, but you can check it out on the site. It is a great t-shirt. Keep calm, it seems legit. Let's also go ahead and give a shout-out to our sponsors, or sponsor, Atheism Box. The first monthly subscription box designed specifically for you, yes, you, atheist, that promotes positivity and the understanding of science without bashing any religion. And I wanted to share with you guys something that I got in my Atheism Box this month. That is an awesome shirt. Do you eat science, bro? Head over to atheismbox.com and sign up. It's really great. It's awesome that we have you know, things like that for atheists because we're a growing minority and we need those social outlets. We need those products. We need this market for atheists. How can we come out if we don't have things for us to come out to?
And I am the Godless Engineer. You can find me on YouTube by going to Godless Engineer. Just do a simple search on there. You can go on Facebook, find me there, Godless Engineer or Godless Engineering. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, all of those good, lovely places. And feel free to join me tomorrow for Mythicist or Myth Monday. Where I'm going to be posting a video about questioning the historicity of Jesus. And then on Friday, I post a fallacy video. And in between there, I'm going to be posting other videos. So please join me on my channel, and I hope you really do.
And I am Brendan, the Prototype Atheist. I do want to thank Dieter Lucum for coming on tonight. This was very enjoyable. And you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all those good places. This week's video is going to be on the sketchy story of Christmas, so that will be the title. So come on over and check that out if you're interested. And then, you know, if you'd like to support us, if you're so inclined, please visit our website, thesecularroundtable.com, and you know, purchase some T-shirts or do some pre-ordering. Buy some donuts on a stick, or maybe some Darwin flags. You know, whatever floats your boat. So stop on by there and check it out.
And yes, as a matter of fact, I am Dieter Lucum. And this is awesome. I would love to come back. Invite me to this whenever. I had a whole lot of fun. You guys are just covered in assholes. So I enjoyed myself.
Hey,
Anyway.
but the Christians love us.
You can...
The Christians love us.
Sure. That's what happens.
We're not like other atheists.
So, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Godless Voices. That's all I got. I don't have funding opportunities. You can give me money. I'm open to that. Just send me money.
Hey, you're already getting a T-shirt. Don't get greedy on us.
No, I want a T-shirt made of money.
Those darn atheists, they get one free T-shirt and then they go trying to create a Ponzi scheme out of YouTube.
Put a dollar in the box.
So yeah, guys, don't forget to go check these guys out, the Godless Engineer, Prototype Atheist, and our special guest, Dieter Lucum, because they all create great content. I know I have been familiar with Dieter Lucum's channel for quite some time now, and you know, I think it's really great that we can reach out to other YouTube atheists and show our support the way that he is doing. I think that is one of the most fantastic things about being a growing minority, is that we are open and able to help each other out.
I agree.
I agree as well.
Now he's kind of like set the standard for us. Like, we can't just invite anyone on for the show now.
Yeah, because I'm just so well known and just so popular. You have 3 times as many subscribers as me. Shut the fuck up.
That's a crime.
But they're creationists though. It's different.
What? So it's like 5-to-1? Is that the conversion rate?
Dude, my top 5 fans have creationists in their name.
How do you have top fans? How does that even?
You can check it in your creator studio. You can go to like community and then fans.
No, that only happens when you have so many subscribers. See, we haven't achieved your level of success yet. You're stepping all over us here.
No. Flattered or just feel bad for you guys.
Oh, I have that particular option, so I guess it's something that you get when you get to the 1,000 mark.
Yeah, why don't you rub it in a little more?
Speaking of that 1,000 mark,
Gee, you have like 30,000 people on Facebook.
I know. We hit him with this all the time, and he tries to act so modest, like, I don't have that much reach on Facebook, guys, but I'll do what I can.
Well, I mean, it's like, yeah, I'm big on Facebook. That's like saying, oh, yeah, I'm popular at Walmart.
You have 100 times as many people as I do. 100 times!
Alright, guys, so we'd like to thank everyone for watching, and thank Data Lucum for joining us this week for our episode of Reason. Make sure you tune in next week, because we do this every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is subject to change, but it probably won't for a while, because we've been doing it for quite some time now. But yeah, make sure you check it out, and as always, think skeptically, stay godless, keep calm, it seems legit, and thank you for watching.